What's up, all? Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm Robert Durden. I'm going to do a short episode tonight on... I got a couple of questions about the UBI I've been talking about that costs $219 billion a year that eliminates poverty. It is a means-tested type of UBI, basically, that eliminates poverty and it excludes the very wealthy because of the way that it's set up. So it's not a true UBI. So I got some people telling me that a true UBI takes, it's costs about $3 trillion a year, which is true. Like if you wanted to do the $1,000 a month type of thing for everybody in the United States, it's 300 million people or more, 330 million people. It's going to be like, $3 trillion a year. So that's, of course, why I recommend the, means-tested version, is because it's so much cheaper and it still eliminates poverty. Now, it's not universal, so I'm not sure that it would of course be means tested further, and it would take forever to get through Congress, but so would a normal UBI. So I'm just going to clear the air and just give you a whole bunch of ways we can pay for an actual UBI. And so it would be about $30 trillion over 10 years. So I'm going to go over the 5 ways that we could pay for an actual UBI of $1,000 a month for every American. And they don't have to be done in any particular order, but I'm going to break down the price tag for you very briefly here. The first thing, and we'll never get this done, so of course this is all theoretical, is if you switch to Medicare for All or something like it over our current system, the Americans save something like $4.5 trillion over the next 10 years. And that's according to a University of Massachusetts Amherst study. Even on like the Koch brothers, I think it was the Mercatus study, even said that Medicare for All would save over $2.2 trillion over 10 years. But I've also seen that it could save something like $10 trillion on a more leftist study. So I choose to take the U of Amherst study as the middle ground. And there is another one that just came out that confirmed that it's something like $4.5 trillion would be saved over 10 years simply by switching to Medicare for All. So there's part of it right there. Number 2, cut military spending 50%. That's something like $350 billion a year, or $3.5 trillion over that 10 years, and suddenly we're at $8 trillion. Number 3, a 1% tax on Wall Street speculation. So a 0.1% tax on Wall Street speculation raises $30 billion a year. This would be $300 billion a year because it's 10 times that, 1%, and that is, of course, $3 trillion over that decade. So we're at 11. Number 4, do something like the Stop Cheaters Act that Ro Khanna is proposing right now. And if we just go with what he proposed, it cost $100 billion, but it would raise over $1.2 trillion by ending tax evasion for the extremely wealthy, who are responsible for like 60 to 70% of the tax gap. If you close all the loopholes in offshore tax havens and re-audit some of the big companies and the most wealthy individuals, it produces like $1.2 trillion over 10 years. So there's another $1 trillion right there. And I know what you're saying. There's one thing left, and you still want me to cover like the remaining, 20 trillion or whatever. And it's that easy, actually. I did an episode yesterday on how if we had the same tax laws and the same tax brackets in place that we had during the golden age of economics under FDR in place from 1975 until now, that $50 trillion would be out of the pockets of the 1% and back into the pockets of the 90%. So over 40-something years, they stole over $10 trillion, over those 40 years, they stole over $50 trillion from the American people simply by rigging the economy and convincing everyone that trickle-down economics was a thing and that it was good to cut taxes on the rich. So had we just maintained some semblance of a social democracy like under FDR, that's $50 trillion that would have been able to be back in our pockets. So at that rate, $50 trillion over 40-something years, let's just round it off, it's about $10 trillion every 10 years. If we were to just reinstate some sort of taxes like that, we would get back at least $10 trillion, and I think we can do even more than that because in times like these, I would go even higher on a corporate tax rate. You could do that, and you could absolutely get to the 30 trillion if you do that as the last thing. Rewrite the taxes so there's something like the taxes under FDR, and that means something like a top marginal tax rate of like 90%, a high corporate tax rate, I would say 60, 70%, 50% minimum, and then do a wealth tax. Bernie's wealth tax produced tons of money. It was something like I think 4.5 trillion over 10 years. That's actually accurate. That is what it was. It was 4.5 trillion over 10 years. Simply doing that stratified wealth tax. You could do that too. So there's plenty of ways to pay for things. Now, and I'm going to prove it to you further. I also have 2 ways that we could pay for it just immediately, just by itself. Do 2 things, and these can be done on their own to pay for that 30 trillion over the next 10 years, to pay for a UBI for everybody. The first one is you make all of those tax havens and offshore accounts that all the rich people have been hiding their money in for decades, repatriate all the money, and tax it at 90%. There's over $36 trillion, I looked it up, estimated, and some estimates are way higher than that. But there's like $36 trillion in offshore accounts that we could repatriate to America at the 90%, top marginal tax rate that I just said, and that's $30 trillion. But they're never going to do that. They'll say it's impossible. They'll say it can't do it. Too many people go to prison. Too many rich people are going to be in big trouble. But that's how you could do it. And other countries have, jailed bankers and done stuff like this to help their economy get back on track. Why can't we? Okay. Number 2 is just go up one more decimal place on the Wall Street speculation tax. Do a 10% Wall Street speculation tax. Boom, there it is. Now, they'll tell you that, that's going to devastate the markets and hedge fund managers won't have 2 dimes to rub together. Bullshit. We've bailed out Wall Street how many times? They can bail us out. Don't do the 0.1%. Don't do the 1%. Do the 10%. 10% tax on Wall Street speculation. Boom. UBI. And you want to go crazy? Do 20%, and we all get $2,000 a month. So I'm up for a 20% Wall Street speculation tax. If we can all have a universal basic income, fuck it. Fuck them. The stockbrokers, the people, the hedge fund managers, fuck them. How about $5,000 a month for a 50% Wall Street speculation tax?